it's changing like every 2 weeks. Like literally like 2 weeks ago, I was looking at my GA stats and kind of web traffic, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. It just, took a nosedive.
Hello, and welcome to the Health Tech Marketing Show. I'm your host, Adam Chirinas. I'm the CEO of Health Launchpad. I want to give a big thank you to you for listening. And if it's your first time listening to the show, you can subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcast applications. And you can find the close to 100 other episodes where we talk to marketing leaders and experts in things related to healthcare technology marketing that I think you'll find useful. We also have a YouTube channel where you can see videos of the shows and a lot of other types of videos as well. I also want to give a big thank you to our friends at HIMSS. Really appreciate all the help that you've given us with this show over the years. Today's episode is an epic one. I'm talking to somebody who I've wanted to talk to for a while. I've really admired the work that she's doing. The amazing Kristin Russel, who's the Chief Marketing Officer of symplr. And we're going to cover a lot of ground. So first of all, you're going to hear how Kristin and her team of marketers at symplr have built a brand by creating a new overarching category in healthcare. And it's a really impressive story. The second thing is she gives a really unique perspective on the whole area of growth marketing. ABM plays a key role in it, but it's only really part of the story. There's a lot of complexity in what they do. And she talks about a notion which I hadn't really heard of before called branded demand. And it's really intriguing. And the other thing that we're going to do is we are going to go really deep on the impact that AI is having on marketing. So there's all the good stuff, how we can use AI to improve the way that we personalize messaging. And Kristin's going to talk a lot about that. But we're also going to talk about the impact that AI is happening on search and on inbound marketing. And Kristin's going to reveal a lot of what they're experiencing and the strategies that they're employing to address the issues. So with that, let's get on with the show. Hello, Kristin. Welcome to the show. I'm so delighted to have you here. We've got some really interesting stuff to talk about. But to get started, tell us a bit about yourself and about symplr.
Okay, well, first off, Adam, thank you for having me. It's wonderful to be here today, and I'm really excited to not just talk about that, but to talk about marketing and all good things marketing and healthcare. So Kristin Russel, I have been with symplr for about 4 years now. I've been in marketing for long enough to know better. I could probably go and do something other than marketing, but I have a kind of an untraditional path into marketing. I actually started as a speechwriter ages ago for Jean Chrétien, the Prime Minister of Canada. And from that, got into strategy. I did an MBA in international finance. I was a consultant, started a company in SaaS and online banking and invoicing with ING Bank, ultimately selling it to those guys. So definitely did not come to marketing naturally. It was actually through product marketing, acquired a business. I was running product, and product marketing looked kind of interesting. I was like, these guys, you can tell a story, you can do things so much faster than you can from a product perspective. That was sort of my initial toe in the water. And from that, it just opened the doors into all things marketing, growth marketing, field marketing, thinking about positioning, how you engage your customers. It was honestly, it's just kind of been a fun little path that I've been on ever since. And in fact, actually, since those early days, I've taken a lot of my lessons learned. I ultimately worked at Cerner, Omnicell, some health tech companies, Humana, Quest Analytics. But the last few years with symplr have really kind of been some of my favorite. And now at symplr, we're focused on making healthcare easier. That is kind of our DNA. We think of ourselves as the backbone of healthcare operations. We're in 9 out of 10 health systems who trust us to kind of cut through the chaos, cut through the challenges they have, the silos that they exist in, managing their contract, their spend, their workforce management, systems and solutions, quality and compliance. Not only are we working with health systems, we also work with payers. And so, top 400 payers working with us, and we support them in provider data management solutions, compliance and credentialing. And then we've got a big book of business all around helping vendors move in and out of health systems. So we call that access management. Bottom line, it is acute, it is non-acute, we cover it all. But when we do well, our caregivers, who we ultimately kind of are the focus for much of what we do, our caregivers have more time to give care. And so that's it. I mean, our North Star is really simple. It's all about simplifying operations and multiplying impact.
The clue's in the name.
That's right. And you better believe we lean on that.
Well, it's interesting to hear you describe it because I think everybody knows, right? symplr has been a series of acquisitions. I mean, I don't know how many companies have been acquired.
It's a lot. Now, I've been here for about 4 years. I think I'm 11 or 12 acquisitions. But I will tell you, we're not just growing through acquisitions.
Right.
In fact, just having the acquisitions may seem like a sound business model, but it's not enough. And it's not enough from a customer perspective. Our customers need us to connect all of those different solutions to really ultimately unlock the value. In fact, just this last January, we launched our platform. And so we've been hard at work over the last few years building the connective tissue between our different solutions and are actually building out what we call integrations between our different products to enable workflows. So you can think about a talent solution and a staffing and scheduling solution, and now the opportunity to, within your staffing and scheduling solution, organize time for learning, organize time for, if you need to, recruiting, all of the different assets associated with really managing your work. That's what happens when we can bring
it is a very difficult challenge. I started a health tech company and we sold it to Constellation Software.
Yeah.
A Canadian company, amazing Canadian company.
Yes.
And they're fantastic at what they do. I mean, the return on equity is staggering. I think at one point it was like comparable to Apple. But they also allow companies to sort of stay as they were acquired. So they don't force integrations. And so as a result of that, I didn't stay around that long after we were acquired. But as a result of their model, the cross-sell is just not there. They still sell as lots of different individual companies. I mean, I think they've aggregated some of them. It's not entirely true what I'm saying, but they haven't done what you've done, which is they acquired way back when DocHalo, which was one of our competitors. Great product. That you acquired Find. Now, those are companies that do different things. And I'm sure you've probably covered, I don't know, there's 10, 20, 30 different companies. But to actually have them working together under one single message,
right,
and have that as one single face brand to the customers is really hard to do.
It's almost like a ballet. So if you've ever seen a ballet, they make it look really easy. You bet. There's a lot of work on the back end. We spend a lot of time thinking about our roadmap. We spend a lot of time thinking about our customer experience, what that looks like. You mentioned a couple of the solutions we've bought. Clinical communications is now what we call the old DocHalo, symplr clinical communications. And now you can imagine having a clinical communications tool, a way to communicate with whoever is on staff, is really enhanced when you know who's on staff or who's on the schedule. And so the connection points are really important, but understanding the overall thesis. For us, that is all solely focused on this healthcare operations space. So the administration, the solutions that, your health systems need to run, to operate. And then, like I said, I mean, we can go after some really challenging problems with the solutions that we have. You brought up Find. The onboarding and offboarding of clinicians in our world, and anybody who's listening to this is a healthcare marketing show. I mean, you guys know this is a super big challenge, particularly the offboarding piece. Now, onboarding, you bring on a new physician and the clock starts ticking. It's about $9,600 a day until they're up and running. symplr's credentialing. We're the largest credentialer in the medical space. And so getting them up is a big part of it, but not just up, but trained. They've got to be onboarded. They've got to be in the system for scheduling. That's, again, touching all of our different solutions. So the opportunity to connect all of that, as well as then offboard those clinicians as they leave, help get them out of the systems from a security perspective. All of that really does come to bear from the different products that we've brought together. But I will tell you, you're right. From a marketing perspective, it's a big branding initiative, and it's been ongoing. I won't make any, I don't want to give anybody kind of the vibe that, hey, this is easy. I got boom, no problem, one and done. For the first few years, I would show up at events. We'd have symplr, we'd have all of our, our great solutions, and our customers wouldn't really understand who we were. They were associating us with symplr, maybe a vendor credentialing system, but not the product that they acquired, that they'd done due diligence on, that they were actively using, until we were able to migrate our user experience, our user interfaces, until we were able to really bring them some of those connective tissues of the different products coming together. And to be honest, until we're able to really start invoicing them with the names of our solutions, it's really hard to just be on the front end saying, hey, we're all symplr. So it's a whole company effort to really bring these solutions together. And
So,
we've built a bit of a playbook over time, but it's taken some work.
so branding, obviously, key priority for marketing. What are some of the other expectations of the role of marketing?
Particularly for symplr, branding is a big one. In fact, standing up the brand, becoming symplr was important. So like you said, you called it out at the beginning. We really grew in a variety of different ways, both organically and inorganically. And so that meant establishing ourselves in a space where, honestly, when I started, I'll never forget this. I sat down with Russ Branzell. You know him, I'm sure, from Chime. I sat down with Russ and talked a little bit about what we were doing, saying, okay, we're workforce management, provider data management, contract spend management. He's like, yep, I got it. Quality, yep, all in there. He said, you know what you are? He said, you guys, you're the other budget for the CIOs. And I thought, oh my heavens, that is our category, the other budget. And so to go from that and create a brand meant we had to create a category as well. We had to create a space in which we could exist that made sense for our buyers. And that meant creating this healthcare operations category. I can say we've created it now, in part because I believe when you create a category, you kind of have to have three things in place before you can say, yeah, I got it. One is you've definitely got to have the analysts talking about you. KLAS now has their healthcare operations summit, which is super excited to be a part of that. We've got people with healthcare operations in their job title. So, walking around talking about healthcare operations. And keep in mind, Adam, when we first started and we started talking about healthcare operations, everybody thought we were talking about the broom closet and the janitorial services. So this is like major lift to get into this category. And the third piece, which, we welcome, is competition. And so we've got competitors now talking about their healthcare operations solutions and what they do. And so that was a big part of pulling this all together. So brand, category creation, a big part of marketing, but not the only part. You asked, what does marketing do at
Yep.
Sim? Well,
So brand, category creation.
Brand, category creation, we have product marketing, we have growth marketing, we do field marketing. I mean, it's pretty traditional from that perspective. Bringing pipeline to the sales team is a big piece of our lives.
So I'm curious, it's like the other budget. So the other budget, the main budget is the Epic and whatever your other EHR is, but predominantly Epic.
That's right. The clinical technology piece, I would say.
The clinical. Okay. Yeah. I'm curious how complementary you are with Epic. And the reason why I ask is that a lot of companies face this issue, because I know we did, is if you're selling to an Epic customer, if you present your solution, you get one of two answers. One answer is, that's great. Let me just go see where it's on Epic's roadmap.
Right.
Or the alternative is some would say, that's great. Epic is fantastic. They do what they do really well, but we actually want to go best of breed. And we think you have something here which is different enough that we're going to consider you.
That's right.
And you kind of had to figure out, you had to qualify the Epic customers based on that. So I'm curious, you're doing that across, across one big category that you've created, but it's actually against probably, 100 different use cases.
Right. It's interesting you talk about best of breed. So we would say, while we have best of breed solutions that are absolutely class winners, we are actually an enterprise player in and of ourselves. So by creating this sort of moat around our solutions, by having all of these different solutions, we offer our partners, our healthcare partners the opportunity to double down with symplr, to have that single vendor in multiple different areas across their portfolio. And to be honest, in areas that Epic does not service. We do compete with Epic in a couple of different areas, but we come at it from a very different angle. So we are not coming at it from the clinical medical record. We don't have a clinical medical record. We do have your administrative solutions. We do have the kind of the focus on your staffing and scheduling, which, I mean, your average hospital has what, 6,000, 9,000 different nurses that they've got to staff and schedule. Your physician scheduling, huge area of complexity. Epic's not in credentialing. They're not in the quality benchmarking solutions that we're doing, the OPPE, FPPE offering that we have. They're not in the compliance the way that symplr is. So we're able to really come at it and actually have a very complementary offering with Epic. I would say probably, maybe 80% of our customers are using Epic. And so we work very closely with them. We integrate with Epic, but we're not really competing against Epic. It's interesting if you look at one of the ways to think about it is in a larger health system. So in our enterprise accounts, our customers typically there will divide their IT into two areas, and it is the clinical solutions, but the other area is that administrative solution area, and that's quite firmly where symplr plays.
Got it. You've got essentially your beachhead within the organization, and you've got a clear complementary relationship.
That's right. And cross-selling is a big part of what we do. If we have a toehold, we're going to offer more solutions. We're going to bring a lot more value, cross upselling as well, the symplr solution set, but helping our hospitals think about breaking down silos with symplr solutions is a big piece of how we show up in market. And with our platform, we've actually changed as well the segmentation and who our focused customer is. And so we've gone from the variety of individual solutions where I had about probably 10 different target audience primary buyers to really one single kind of overhead quarterback, the CIO, who is then also supported and obviously individual enabling their counterparts, whether they're the CHRO, the CNO, depending on the solution, your med staff team, your quality team that's looking at or using the symplr solutions.
Over the course of this podcast, we've talked with dozens, probably close to 100 different companies. You're one of the few that have as many customers as you do. Like what you said, 9 out of 10 healthcare systems, 400 payers as well. Explain to me the role of growth marketing, because it's not about new customer acquisition, obviously.
No, it's really interesting that you say that. The complexity of selling into a health system, though, should not be lost on anyone. And there is some new customer acquisition. So while we are firmly established in the acute care space, non-acute care remains a very large area of opportunity for us, first and foremost. Secondly, though, just putting that aside, within our health systems, typically what we find are the silos are so big that there's an opportunity to communicate to the CHRO, for example, that number one, hey, you've got a solution over here. You can take advantage of more competitive pricing, of a different offer, that making them aware that symplr exists, that we've got an offering in their space that they can use to solve X, Y, and Z. So really helping and supporting that cross-selling is probably the most critical area there. We still look at traditional measurements with our growth marketing team. We're looking at how much can we bring into the funnel, and then how are those opportunities moving down the funnel. So that's a critical piece of kind of how we show up in market. But at the same time, we are really obviously pretty focused on account-based marketing, and even more so opportunity-based marketing.
What's the difference? When we were talking the other day, you said ABM is part of what you do, but not everything. And I can understand that. And you said we view it as growth marketing equals ABM plus demand gen plus opportunity marketing. How unpack that a bit?
So, it's interesting. I think when ABM first came around, everybody was like, whole hog, here we go, we're all in. And I do think that ABM is a really critical piece in the marketer's arsenal. Hands down, you've got to have an ABM strategy. You've got to be able to support your sales team, understanding the intent that our customers are presenting, but it's not the only thing. And so one of the things that we're also, like when I think about good old traditional demand gen, going out, I need Adam to be aware that I'm here. I want to get you over to my website, harder now than ever before. We'll talk about that, I'm sure.
Right.
But I want to get you in. I want you looking at my products, understanding how I differ from the competition. I want you thinking and understanding the returns I can provide you, the value I can give you in my own way. And so that's kind of the traditional demand gen piece. And then the opportunity, particularly in an account like in a space like ours, we may have 3, 4, 7 different opportunities in any one account at a single point in time. So we are absolutely firing on multiple cylinders, especially with our larger customers, and they'll be in different stages of their customer journey. We might also have accounts that we've just or opportunities we've just closed, but we still want to continue kind of that nurturing relationship because there's complementary solutions that we want to be able to market and offer and ultimately sell and engage our customers with.
Yeah, I imagine it gets really complex because you could be marketing find and or your credentialing.
Call that symplr directory right there. You got to write that
My
one down.
bad, my bad. No, as
Okay.
it came out, I immediately thought I should
You're
say
good. You got it. You're good. Simpler
so you
direct.
might be marketing, credentialing, provided directory solutions in one part of the organization, and it's an early stage, and in another part of the organization, you might be much further along with the same people, and so it's sort of how you've got
Not with the same people, with the same CIO over top of the overall experience for sure. And they're going to be wanting and pushing to get the best value that they can from us as well. But you could think about, our compliance officer working with one part of our solution set, CHRO, CNO working with another suite of simpler solutions. And then, all together a different group that's the med staff office working with a different set of our solutions. That's just one example. But those individuals do exist in silos. They've got different ways of doing business. They've got different ways of contracting. And to be honest, we have different ways of engaging with them as well.
I'm curious, how do you avoid crossing the streams so that the right people see the right message, and then the CIO who might be seeing all of these messages, gets a sort of, maybe they get a different message. I'm really interested in how you tailor that.
Oh my gosh, I wish I had the perfect answer for that. Certainly, I mean, we have a product marketing team that's phenomenal, led by Mike Mast, oversees this group. I should actually not give names away or people are going to be like, oh, I'm going to hire you. But Mike does a great job of helping our product marketers think about who that ICP is, who is the individual contributor that we've really got to focus on from a marketing perspective. And then our growth marketing team will take that and will create tailored campaigns hand in hand with our product marketing team to really make sure we're attaching value from a digital perspective or a digital outreach perspective to those players. At the same time, obviously, we're working with our sales team and our enablement team to ensure they're aware of one, the campaigns that are going forth, but also who those ICPs are and how we can think about them. I mean, we arm our sales team with battle cards. We've got market intelligence. We think about the positioning. We think a lot about kind of how those individuals think. And it's a two-way street. We're bringing that information back in as well. When we do it well, it's a conversation we're having with the sales team.
Makes a lot of sense. Before we get on to the AI topic, you mentioned I can't remember where I saw it somewhere on LinkedIn. It said this notion of branded demand. And I thought, I feel like I've heard that before, but it's actually said, you know what? I've never heard anybody say that. And it was very intriguing.
Oh, I
Explain.
love that. I'm so glad I got you. I got you excited about something. Yeah. I think about brand acquisition and branded demand as complementary a little bit. So, when done right, I think even your lowest funnel assets, your ads, your webinars, your nurture flows can reinforce positioning, can reinforce value, and every touch point is a brand moment. So when I think about branded demand, it's really, and gosh, I mean, I just was talking with my growth team about this the other day, and we have an agency that helps with a lot of our kind of our low funnel or top of funnel assets. That those need to include the value nuggets that are going to engage the ICP, but it's got to feel like something you want to engage with.
Right.
I talk a lot about kind of guys and gals or people in blue scrubs leaning over iPads as kind of like a big no-no. We really push on our marketing to be different, to be unique, to be something that you're like, oh, that's kind of a cool image. And that alone can grab folks, maybe if my messaging hasn't quite got you. But I'm going to take every opportunity I can to get your interest. And I do think we're all human. It's interesting. I was just looking at some stats this morning. Our Instagram which 4 years ago, I was like very anti-social, but we've got some great folks in social. Our Instagram is growing and supporting our brand. It's probably one of our fastest growing digital channels alongside LinkedIn.
Who are you trying to reach with Instagram?
With Instagram, that's really just fun moments of engagement of like, hey, we're here, we're your partner, we're human, recognizing that the users of our software, they're multifaceted. They're not just a clinician that's sitting in front of patients looking at nursing journals all day long. They've got a life. They want to do fun stuff. Our CIOs may be interested in our golfers, the golf team that we sponsor, our vendors that we work with from a vendor acquisition perspective, may be interested in some of the funny clips. So it's just recognizing that there's many sides of that human and really having a digital program that approaches all of the different sides.
Yeah, that's a very fresh perspective. I don't hear that much in our industry, and it makes sense. And that notion of branded demand, which is some quality of execution, right? I think that, brand awareness and brand consideration, I think had become a bit of a dirty word in our industry. So, demand gen is a little bit more really about that. And I feel like we're starting to come back to it's okay to talk about building the brand, because if people don't know who you are, what you stand for, and what you can do for them, they're not going to download your forms.
Well, they can't search for you if they don't know you. I think the other piece that's really important, particularly in B2B, is, don't forget that 95% of our audience is not buying right now. So I've got to give them something memorable enough that when they are ready to make that purchase or to go run the RFP or to start their search for X, Y, and Z, that symplr's there, it's in their mind, and they're like, you know what, I think symplr does something here. Let me go check those guys out. That's critical, especially in a world where your search can be, I can go search, I get the answers without even coming to my website. So I want to make sure that there's some association with the brand, so it's not all just rolling through ChatGPT.
I think this is a good moment to kind of move on to the different topic around AI. And as we've talked about, it feels like we're at an inflection point. 2 articles in The Economist this week, NPR talking about how AI is impacting the way that people search and the way that people use the web. I'm
Absolutely.
really curious. How is that impacting a company like yours?
It is completely impacting our company. We talk about it all the time. We're not just talking about it, we're doing things about it. We had so my marketing offsite in June, this was a big area of focus for us. We have been spending some time understanding this. And Adam, it's changing like every 2 weeks. Like literally, like 2 weeks ago, I was looking at my GA stats and kind of web traffic, and you're like, wait a minute, hold on. It just, took a nosedive. It turned out to be a different algorithm in the way that we were tracking, but things are changing night and day. So you really do need to be on top of this and sort of thinking about it. In our world, the way we're looking at it, we're taking a heavy look at all of our digital channels right now, our owned digital channels, which is largely our website, but we own other channels. We have access to other channels as well that we certainly, manage and coordinate around. And so looking at all of those different channels and thinking through what are the campaigns we're running, how are we leveraging branded demand to really engage with our customers. There are things that symplr owns that we get to be able to kind of claw back from the generative engines that are going to be pushing other content forward. And by that, I mean my products, the ability to offer unique insights about the solutions. You've got to come to our website to see that, to see the products in action, to see the videos, to be able to, now I'm sure that's changing too, but we want to get folks from interested enough in those answer engines that they're going to come over to the symplr website. So what we're doing is we're looking very closely at all of the different channels that are leading to our site. We're optimizing our answer calls. We're optimizing our content, recognizing it's going to be in these in these sort of different LLMs, and thinking through how do we make that content engaging enough, but yet at the same time, where we're really pushing is the value. That it can't be high level. If it's just high level content, it gets lost in the noise. Now more than ever, it's got to be specific. It's got to help your audience understand how you differentiate yourselves, and then really look to pull you in with that. Things like open houses, webinars, the old webinars back in a lot of different forms, like podcasts like this one, but creating moments for people to kind of connect with us has been a really important part of this.
I'm curious to say, can you give an example of how that's changing your content? I get what you're saying in terms of using different media because you want to diversify just from website to YouTube and podcasts and different social channels as well. I think, it's interesting using, as you mentioned, LinkedIn and Instagram.
Yes.
But can you give an example of how you might be changing the messaging so that you show up in the right way in the, in AI overviews, for example?
Yeah. So our little offsite back in June, coming out of that, we said, let's start an initiative. We're calling it AOAO, always on, always optimizing. And now these are our old school, always, the set it and forget it campaigns that everybody sort of, you've got them out there. We wanted to take a hard look at those. In fact, it's just the core basics that weren't performing for us the way we wanted them to. And so it was a matter of like ripping open all of those different, from the website to the channels that lead us to the website, to the nurture streams that come out of those. We wanted to take a hard look at all of those different elements. Using a lot of, we've got a lot of great tools that help us understand how are people coming to our websites, what kind of numbers, where are they coming from, gave us insights into some of the answer engine pieces that we're seeing. And an answer engine, so that is going to be content that is very specific to symplr, but also very specific to unique solutions that we solve for, or unique areas. So like the Joint Commission has a specific ruling that symplr's quality solution, for example, can address. We want content on that particular solution, how we've done it, how customers have done it. We're going to tie right into that piece and then connect that over into our solution marketing. Whereas maybe in a prior world, it was enough to just talk about the solution. I've got to talk about the latest, I don't know, FSLA laws that are coming down the pike that are going to impact 2025 rulings around fair labor. So that's the kind of high level content that we're doing, but we're also taking it across the board. So one, I've got product marketing working on very detailed messaging that speaks to the value, that speaks to the return for our customers, particularly in this world. Right off the bat of the big, beautiful bill, we've got that content coming in. We're really looking at what do people need right now from a healthcare efficiency perspective, from a healthcare operations perspective, and how does that tie into our different solutions? So with product marketing, creating the content, we give it to our growth team who is building that into every single touch point. We've got SEO working on as growth comes out with the campaigns, as we build them on the website. It's our SEO team that takes a hard look at that. I still use SEO. I'm going to probably throw an alphabet soup at them pretty soon, like a Saggy or something. But they're looking and using their tools. We use a tool called Bright Edge, for example, that gives us, it's got AI embedded in it, but it also lets us see how are we doing on traditional search, direct search, answer generated search, the GEO searches that they're coming from. It gives us that kind of insight in terms of where is our search volume, what are they going to, and where are they spending the most time, what's bouncing, what's not. And then each one of those areas, it's an A/B test as we look to improve and really think through as well, not just all of those pieces, but also things like our CRO. So I'm throwing a lot of alphabet soup at you, but CRO, it has been another big area that we have doubled down on, particularly in light of everything that's coming down with AI. And again, that's because once I've got somebody finally to my site, I've got to get them converting. And if the faster, the more, the tighter the conversion, we look at the assets that are our top converting assets, why, what images are in front of them, what's on the side, what's the content in the asset, what's the messaging, anything that's going to lead to conversions, we're doubling into those as well.
It's so interesting hearing you talk it through, because you've helped me understand what's going on with my own site. Because I tell you what I've seen in the last 2 years ago, 65% of our traffic came from SEO. In the last 6 months, it's dropped to below 50.
Right.
And it's going to keep going down.
Right.
But the thing which hasn't changed is that the assets that were driving the most traffic are still driving the most traffic.
Right.
There's certain things, that pillar pieces of content that are still bringing traffic to the site and generating leads. Equally, what I'm also seeing is I'm not seeing a fall off in the number of people that come to the website and book a meeting. And I think it says that the mid funnel and the lower funnel, because we've actually improved that, I think is still working. I think what we're losing is it may be a lot of the kind of junk that was coming in through kind of long tail content that may be less relevant. So I'm hopeful that, even though my traffic's gone down, that it's still going to keep converting at the same volume. and a higher rate. But I think, the way that you've described it, you're moving very quickly. I'm really interested in what Bright Edge does. I hadn't heard of that tool.
We've got a bunch. Bright Edge, though, is old school, was an SEO tool. Now it's, like I said, it's evolved so that it's more than just supporting our SEO, but it's also giving us the indicators we need to understand where we're generating the traffic. And I think the other piece is, as we look at this, the more authoritative we can be, the clearer we can be in our messaging and in our outreach. I mean, it's simple, it's obvious, but it's also, even that is helpful in terms of bringing more traffic to the site. And then again, it's it's conversion rate optimization once we get them on the site.
What are some of the other ways that you and your team are adopting AI?
Well, certainly we're using it ourselves and supporting a level of efficiency across the board. It's definitely helping us with our branded content, making sure we're more on brand, on voice. We've got tools like Jasper in use here at symplr. Our content team really thinks about that. Honestly, I think the role of content is evolving pretty quickly. And that's been another area that we're still learning. We're still, like everybody else, figuring this out. But a year ago, we had people who owned content, and content's always been funky. And it's like marriage counseling.
So says the former speechwriter, right? You started.
Yeah. So everybody has a hand in content, particularly in marketing, but getting content created that's on brand, that's, really going to resonate with your audience, and having like 32 different product categories and, so many different critical buyers involved in any buying decision means our content can be a little complicated and a little complex to create. And we want it that way. We want it with depth and meaning. I think AI helps to support more content writers and the creation of probably better content at the end of the day that's going to be more on tone, assuming that the inputs are solid, that we're not using AI to just create the content alone. It's a supporter, it's an enabler, so that we're building, real, authentic, engaging content to start with, and then thinking about ways that we can transform that, take a case study, build a white paper out of it, create a listicle or an infographic from that content that we created, for sure.
Is it changing the job that the content creators do?
100%. Definitely. So I think the content creators are evolving as well. They're becoming more of almost like a tech team. You've got I'm pushing content creation into different areas of the organization that maybe didn't have content creation requirements before. The growth team loves it. They're able to get a lot closer to content. They're able to, get a little bit more enhanced content. The content team is sort of like, wait, hold on a second. How is this all working? But in some ways, it'll alleviate them from lower, more tedious work to be a little more strategic and kind of up level at the end of the day.
It forces them to develop really good editorial skills, because of the challenge, I think, with a lot of these tools, I'm a big fan of Claude, is that it keeps getting better at the way it writes. And so it's really easy to go like, I read it a couple of times. It's fine. I'll just post it. It's like, no. If you do that too many times, within a month, all your content's generic. You have to force yourself to edit it and to bring in, back to the notion of branded demand. What else are you bringing to this so that it's not just informative, it's actually genuinely engaging?
And we've been talking a lot, Adam, about like the top of the funnel, the front of the customer journey, as everybody probably on this podcast is thinking about. It's not a one-way street, particularly when you're in 9 out of 10 hospitals. There's that entire point at which the customer, this group that you're trying to engage, becomes a customer. And then we've got the whole back cycle of, really marketing to our customers and supporting that customer journey. And that's another area that we're starting to lean into and understand even more effectively with AI, enabling us to really understand kind of our population, where they are, what they're doing, what they're looking for, how they're connecting with us. We're just beginning on some of those forays, but I'm excited about the opportunity to scale our customer marketing in support of customer success, of our professional services team, of our support team, and really thinking about how we build out meaningful customer journeys for all of our different symplr customers.
And I think you guys do a lot around personalization.
We do. And that's another big area from, you talked about AI. We do a lot with personalization. We can do a lot more. looking at ways that we personalize our campaigns. We are also, to be honest, looking at ways we even personalize that engagement up front with our chat bots on our website, not just for kind of new prospects, but for existing customers as well. That's a big area of we're leaning into. And to be honest, 2026 is going to have a lot of personalization moments. So stay tuned and look for that. I'm really
I'm
excited.
looking forward to it. I'm going to learn from it and commercialize it on your behalf in my agency.
I love it.
I'll give you full attribution. Kristin, you've been very generous with your time, and this has been fantastic. We've covered a lot of ground, and there are so many gems in this. But I want to, leave you with a closing question, which I asked quite a few guests. I haven't asked this for a while, but I want to ask you this one, which is, if you could go back in time and give the you from the future one piece of advice, what would that be?
Okay, so by the way, you should ask your chat GPT this. I'm just saying, like, everybody who's listening is like, wait, what?
What a great.
But my favorite thing to do these days with my kids, I got teenagers, is to ask like crazy questions of chat GPT, like, who am I and what do you know? How would I outsmart? Like, blah, blah, blah.
Brilliant. I'm going to do that directly after this.
So that probably would be like, anybody listening, go run that test. That could be really cool. In terms of, what would I go back and say? I think I tell myself you can't outwork complexity. You got to outsmart it. And particularly right now with so many different things being thrown at us, I mean, I could work 24-hour days, but it's not going to be better. It's not going to be different. It's not going to be unique. And I think outsmarting it and thinking about whatever the problem is and figuring out kind of the ways to engage and pull the team in more and more than certainly even more than I already do. That's kind of the stuff that really where the magic happens. It's not any one individual. It's all of us coming together. I have a phenomenal team that I work with. Marketing, sales, customer success. We tackle some really hard crap. I will be honest, Adam. It's crazy over here. But when you're in the boat and you're rowing and you've got great people with you and you're all rowing in the same direction, by gummy, there's some 4-foot swells, but we do a pretty good job. And I think it's because we really try to outsmart the challenges and work together for our customers, for our employees, for our shareholders. BJ, our CEO, always says, if we put the employee first, if we take care of the employees will take care of our customers. And that's a little bit of an example of kind of outsmarting versus outworking.
That is, first of all, that's a wonderful, wonderful piece of advice. But also that point about putting the employees first is, you and I could do another whole, we'll have to go back and do another on that issue.
That's awesome.
Kristin, this has been fantastic. I really appreciate you taking the time with me today. And with that, I want to say thank you. And, hopefully we'll get you back on the podcast in a year to say, well, so how's it going?
Yeah, really.
You outsmarted AI yet?
All that stuff you said you were going to do. I love it. Adam, it's been great connecting with you too. So I appreciate being a part of the podcast. Thanks for inviting me. And I'd love to come back.
There's so much to unpack from that conversation. I almost don't know where to start. Kristin shared some great advice. I thought the way that she talked about this notion of branded demand is so intriguing and something that I think we all need to think about. It's very easy to kind of get carried away in the volume of deliverables that we create through marketing and forget that each time we create something, it is an opportunity to build the brand through the experience that the customer has when you put something in front of them. The second thing is you've got to adapt to AI. And in particular, you've got to adapt your content strategy. And it was very interesting hearing about the way that they are changing up their content strategy to something which I think will help them gain an advantage in adapting to AI, and in particular things like AI overviews. And then the last thing is, and this is a piece of advice that is extremely well timed, with everything going on right now, you can't outwork complexity. You have to outsmart it. And I think that is a wonderful piece of advice. So if you look down below in the show notes, you're going to see a link to a blog post where I unpack a lot of what we talked about in this conversation. And I've tried to articulate in some actionable things that you can start to work into your own strategy. So with that, thank you, Kristin. That was brilliant. And thank you to you for listening. Hope to hear your feedback. And if you like this show, by the way, why don't you share it with somebody you think might find it useful? And also, if you like the show, please give us a rating. I think there's a thumbs up button somewhere on the application that you're using. I'd really appreciate it. With that, farewell and see you on the next episode.